Okay, so subject at hand then. You wanted to talk about, you were saying Thai girls using sex to get money.
Yeah, well, using love, I guess, to get money. I've, I
Yeah.
mean, look, I've chatted with a lot of, and I've had sex with a lot of people in Thailand, and it's very interesting because all the chat sessions on Facebook seem to go the same way. After I've met them and I've had a sexual engagement with them, and it's all about making me feel good as a man, making me feel loved and respected, and that I think the prostitutes tend to use love to, like, we're out for sex, but they will use love to gain money from us and to get us to keep coming back to them over and over again. And it's very clear to me now uh, how that sort of game works, because I've seen so many of them engage in the same sorts of chatting sessions with me. And it's just been interesting to see, when foreigners go over there and they fall for a Thai girl, um, or for a Thai ladyboy, that if it's their first time or their first couple of times over there, they seem to fall right into it and they can't see it objectively, like, say, we could, given that we've been there so many times and we're experienced with these prostitutes.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't experienced it as I mentioned to you because even before I started going to Thailand, I was aware that romantic engagements were all about money, and even from the first time I went to Thailand, I'd never put myself in a position where that would happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very interested to hear from other people exactly how the Thai girls do try to do that.
Yeah. See, I've just, I mean, it's so very easy to fall in love with them over there, but I've stopped myself from falling in love with anyone. I mean, I've generated, or I guess I have some feelings for one person in particular over there, but, I stopped myself from falling, really deeply in love, because I know how dangerous it can be and how costly it could be. But you hear many stories about foreigners who go over there and they do fall deeply in love, and they're sending money from back home, and they're buying land in their T-Rex name up country, or that the T-Rex using the Farang's money to buy land up country. And it's an interesting business model when you think of it. That they're us Western men. It's not that we're gullible. I think that it's, they're able to elicit these strong positive feelings in us, which we can't get back home, or they're very difficult to get those feelings back home, because the game is all about reproduction and about settling down, having a family, being monogamous, being good, making sure you don't sleep around. Um, it's like we have to be constantly jumping through hoops and back home to get those feelings of affection and romance and sex and love. Whereas in Thailand, we pay for it and bang, we can get whatever we want.
Yeah, but I've had something similar to what you've described, but not in Thailand. But I think it's because the Thai girls and the girls in poorer societies need to do it. They need to be able to get resources from men in ways that Western girls do not have to do so.
Yeah.
So the Thai girls and other girls from poor societies are able to do it deliberately. In my case, I met a Filipino woman here in Oman, and she was able to get me to love her almost on command, really. And the reason why I know is because at a certain point in our relationship, her friends were telling me that I should be at this stage, expressing my feelings to this Filipino lady, and she knew that at that stage I should be, starting to fall in love with her because of our interaction.
Yep.
So I think this is something that the Thai girls, and not just Thai girls, other girls of course, uh, can do, but I think Western girls don't need to do it. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And that's the thing. Once society reaches a certain level of technological and social development, and particularly in Western society, we've got so much money over here and resources that, women literally don't need men anymore. They say they don't need men, and in many ways that's true to a degree. And their actions indicate that that's the case. Whereas over in Thailand, the actions of the bar girls indicates they very much need Western men. They need our money and our resources. So I guess if Thailand became as rich as the Western world, we'd have the same sort of problem, right? Because women are women everywhere, and they're all going to act in terms of their best and self-interest. And I guess Thailand's a refuge for us for now, but as that country becomes richer, and it'll have to be somewhere else potentially that we'd have to move to have these sorts of experiences. But I think it's very telling about human nature, and women they really do have the control when it comes to us men. It's so easy to get us to fall in love with them, and for them to control the interactions and to guide the relationship where they want it to go. And inevitably, it's going to be in the direction of settling down, having a family, being monogamous, going to work, giving them our resources in one way or another, even though they don't need our resources. I was thinking about this the other day, that in so many ways, life for so many men seems to boil down in one way, shape or form to giving women money, right? If you think about your life as a man, so much of it is actually giving women money. When I think about all my friends and what they do and the situations they're in, that's what it's all boiled down to. And the problems that I've had in my life have only really started once I said no. No, I'm not going to give you money. No, I'm not going to settle down. No, I'm not going to live with you. No, I'm not going to have children with you. I want to be free, I want to do my own thing, and I want to be on my own. And when I've said things like that, and I've been living like this for almost 4 years now, that's when people really turned against me, and women in particular. So it is interesting. If you don't give them what they want and you don't fall into line, you're going to have problems.
But when you say having problems, do you mean problems with your lady partners, or problems at work, or problems socially?
All three. At work, I've sort of become a bit of a social outcast. I don't go around telling everyone what I'm doing overseas, but there is a perception about me that I go overseas to Thailand to have sex with prostitutes, and I haven't had to say anything. All I've had to say is that, well, I've been over to Thailand, or I've been in Pattaya, or I've been in Bangkok, and people make those sorts of assumptions. And they see that I'm single here, and they see that I don't engage in relationships, and there's a certain perception and an aura about me that I'm doing things against the best interests of women and society.
Yes, I would agree. I have that here. It's not direct, but we get the suggestions that I should be getting married, and what am I doing, and why don't I go to other places instead of Thailand, and so on and so forth. I guess that's similar to what you experienced in Australia.
I mean, if a man is not married and he's refusing to settle down and he's not doing what other men are doing, other men are looking at that man and saying, well, hang on a second, I'm married, I've got a wife, I've got a child, things are a bit difficult for me, I'm getting irritated, I'm getting bored. Whilst you're out fucking around over in Thailand, you're having all these sexual experiences, Married men and conservative men will turn against a man like that. And I've noticed that. I've lost friends since I've been making these trips, and I've had all sorts of underhanded remarks, and people giving me dirty looks because they perceive me a certain way now, and it's just been fascinating to see people either turn against me or try to make moves against me, particularly in the corporate world. There's something about if a man settles down, gets married, makes a commitment, that man is seen as stable, as committed, and is a good bet when it comes to management. But the single man who refuses to settle down, who's off fucking around in Thailand, wow, obviously he's a free-thinking anarchist and cannot be trusted. And I think there's those perceptions about me doing what I'm doing. And even my own family, like my own family thinks I'm nuts doing the things that I'm doing. So unless you're willing to join the miserable masses, then that's a problem. You become like Neo in the Matrix movies. You're the anomaly, right?
Yeah, but I think this is almost another topic by itself. How men deal with other men in certain situations.
Mm.
A little bit, I think, away from the Thai bar girls and so on, but still in its own way, but still connected. Maybe we can do a topic on that sometime, or a chat on that sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, but just to come back to the Thai girls again.
Yep.
Yeah, we were talking about about some girls, being able to get men to love them, and it is a process which they can repeat, and some of them, I'm sure, are conscious of being able to get men to fall in love with them.
Yes.
And I came across something not quite at that level, but quite interesting when I was in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
I play table tennis, and in the table tennis club, you don't very often see poor Thais. It's mainly middle class, some upper class Thais, and some foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a young girl in there, and I think she must be between, I would guess, between 15 years old and maybe 20 years old, less, because sometimes the Thais can look quite young.
Yep.
And I found that I was having the same conversation, with this young Thai girl that I have with the bar girls. The only thing was, it was just much slower. It was like a slow motion conversation, the same conversation that I have with the Thai bar girls.
Yep.
Hello, handsome man, and where do you come from, and Thai men are no good, and all the rest of it. When I was thinking of the conversations I had with her, we had all of those things, but it took about a month instead of the 1 or 2 days that it takes with the Thai bar girls.
Yeah, so it's so the bars in Thailand, it's an accelerated version of a normal relationship, right? Well, it's an accelerated version of an interaction between men and women. So there's only a short amount of time for the bar girls to get you in, get your money, and to get them to get you to feel and have affection for them. But ultimately the game is, the bars are a short-term gain to try to get the man's money, whereas relationships with the Thais are a longer-term game to also get the man's money, right? Because that's our role in Thailand. Our role is resource provider. Now, to have a resource provider, a Western man, for a working class Thai, if they can get a man to fall in love with them and provide resources over a long period of time, then that's going to be beneficial to them and to their family, because we have to remember that many of these girls from Isan Korat and surrounding areas, they've been brought up to they've been brought up in relative poverty, and they've been taught from a young age that their youth and their beauty is worth money, and particularly with Western men, that they can get money out of us by engaging in working at the bar, and for them it's the how do I say it's the better option. Rather than working in a factory or working in a field, they can make more money in the bars than what they can in any of those sorts of occupations. So, yeah, it's Western women could learn a lot from the Thai bar girls when it comes to making a Western man fall in love with them. And Platchstick's wheel of emotions. If you look at the areas of that wheel that the bar girls elicit in us men, it's a formulaic sort of response. Western women seem to have, not, I won't say turned against it, but they're out fighting for their rights. They're doing their own thing. They're making their own money. Where's their incentive to make us feel those emotions and make us fall in love with them, unless we're a high status man with even more resources than what they've got?
Yeah, so I think that is I think that really is the key point. There's no need for them to try to elicit those feelings in Western males. They can go out and get their own money.
I once read a submission on Stickman Bangkok's website, a reader submission, and the author said, when a woman says "I love you," replace the word "need" for "love," and you'll be right 100% of the time. So a woman's love is her need. And if a woman doesn't need a man, then she's not going to love a man, right? So the problem we have in the Western world is that as women have gained independence and they've gained more resources, that's because of their nature, their hypergamous nature about looking up to higher status, more powerful men. It means that a whole generation of average men, and I'm an average guy, I earn an average salary. Guys like myself, we're looked up to and over. So we're all being looked over by the equivalent earning females. So that is part of the problem. I don't want a below average woman. I don't want a woman who, and it's not just in terms of their income, but in terms of their looks as well. A woman is able to get a man, a woman's able to get the wealthiest man her looks will allow her to. And that's the bottom line, because we know as men we're attracted to youth and beauty in women. And there's that saying that money always gets beauty and beauty always gets the money. It's a match made in heaven, right? But what happens to all us average guys when we have to settle for below average women, below average in terms of earnings and in terms of their looks and in terms of their youth and their beauty. And that's one of the key drivers that gets us going to Thailand, why we go over there, because we can get those types of women in Thailand, which we wouldn't have a hope of getting here in the Western world.
Yes, of course. I'd just like to ask you what sort of things the women do say to you to try to get you to part with money. I mean, even though I don't normally engage with most of the women long term, I've had a few, interesting situations. I once went for a few massages with one of the girls, and I went with the same girl about three or four times. And after the fourth massage or so, she was telling me that she wanted me to marry her, and she would want a house and a car and $1 million baht sinsod, altogether about $3.5 million baht, about $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, well, why are they asking for something so stupid? Unless they expect that there are some people, if they ask 100 people, for example, that one of them just might actually do it. I don't know what sort of things that they're asking you when you're in a relationship for a slightly longer term.
Yeah, so if you think about it, when it comes to contracts, there's got to be, if I'm thinking back to when I did one semester of contract law at university, there's an offer, there's acceptance, and then there's remuneration. Now, for the Thai bar girls or Thai girls in general to be making these sorts of requests, they must know that or have seen that that's a reasonable request, or that other people have asked for that and gotten it. And some Westerners have provided that amount of resources. But at the end of the day, that's our role in Thailand. We're the resource providers, and we can't get away from that. That's what we're there to make their lives better. It's like that guy. I had a meeting when I was in Pattaya. A fan got in contact with me, and he wanted to meet. So I met up with him, and he said something very interesting. He said, "There's only one person." And this is a guy who's in his 60s. He said, "There's only one person he's ever known who's ever taken money out of Thailand." And I said, "How did he do it?" He said, "I'll tell you how he did it. He bought stocks on the Thai stock exchange. He didn't open a business. He didn't do anything locally in the economy. That's the way he did it. Everyone else I know has lost money in one way, shape, or form. They've lost money to their Thai lady. Their Thai lady's bought land in the village in her own name. They've gone through a messy divorce, or there's been problems in the relationship, or something's gone on, and ultimately the relationship's ended, and they've ended up with nothing, and the Thai woman's gotten everything." You have to see it really clearly that our role over there is to, we're the walking ATMs, and we can provide that better life for them. And it's like what is unsaid. There's a lot of things in society and in life in general that is unsaid. We just don't talk about them because it's not polite in polite society to talk about these sorts of subjects. And the Thais, the way they are with saving face and not wanting to lose face at any cost, these are the things that remain unsaid. But these are the things I'm particularly interested in, because I don't want to fuck up my life by entangling myself long term with a Thai who's got a script running in her head saying, "Okay, I want this guy to provide me with $X, and that's what I want, and that's his role." I want to look at it and say, well, hang on, I want to define my own role in Thailand. And to do that, well, you've got to be really careful. There's just so many ways you can fuck up over there.
Yeah, but I'd just like to ask you if you've come across any similar requests, of the nature that I just mentioned. I expect you must have done if you've been with the girls or the lady boys over extended periods of time.
I haven't heard from anyone in my social network of outlandish requests for money. I do know people who are supporting Thai bar girls. I know people who are in relationships of sorts with Thai bar girls. And I know people who are providing money to Thai bar girls, and they're using that money to build houses back in Isan and to buy land in Isan. And some of them are using it to stop working in the bar and to do other things. Most of the stories that I've heard, though, are secondhand. But you can see it when you're over there in Thailand. You can just see the look on some of the Western guys' faces. And a well-known celebrity in Thailand, who I meet up with semi-regularly when I'm over there, he said it to me. He said, "Look, Jarod, what happens is us Western men, when we come over to Thailand and we stay here long term, we get ourselves into a hostage situation." And I thought that was a very good analogy to describe what happens, because that's exactly what it is. It's just a friendly hostage situation where you're in the village, you're, you know, she's bought the house in her name and the land in her name, and you're there, you're getting sex. It's a sex for resources contract, essentially, where you've got no security. And that's the other thing he said. He said, Jarod, there's no security for us foreigners here in Thailand. You've got to be ready to cut and run at a moment's notice. And that's how he lives his life. You know, he's got a safety deposit box, he's got a certain amount of money in it, and if the shit hits a fan, bang, he's on a plane back to the UK. And I think, you know, I think that's a smart strategy.
Yeah, of course it is. So it would seem then that maybe yourself and me as well, we don't really have a lot of experience with how these Thai women get you know, their partners to give them money over extended periods of time. Like, as I said, I really haven't got any personal experience about that, and it seems you probably haven't either. Would that be correct?
Well, I mean, I can go by what I'll give you an example. There's a ladyboy that I know, and I've known her for some time now. I met her in 2013, and we've had a customer service provider relationship for some years now. I trust her to the degree that I can trust a bar girl. I have a level of affection and respect for her, but I have to use the word no with her quite a bit, because whenever she asks me for money, she knows that I'll only provide her with a certain amount haphazardly. I will not provide her with regular income. And if I do provide her with money, then I want something in return, not just sex. So if I'm back in the Western world and she asks for money, sometimes, maybe once every 3 months or so, I might say, okay, all right, but you're to do this, 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 and this in Pattaya for me. For instance, you will store my film equipment. I will ship it over to you. You will put it in your condo. You will store my chair. You will go to this place or that place. You will run errands for me, etc., etc. So that's the relationship that I've developed with her, because I'm not just going to give her money for nothing, because I know that other Western men are giving her money for nothing. I know that she's got relationships with other people, and yeah, I'm not just going to just be a sucker who's sending her money, for nothing, when I know that she's not being faithful to me. But I think that's the way that I do it, and so I guess I can speak from my own experience. But you hear things secondhand that the guys are sending money to them and expecting them to be faithful and they're back working in the bar.
Yeah, I think we've all heard those stories, haven't we?
Mm.
It's old as the hills, that one.
Mm. I mean, they gain a lot of face.
Yeah.
If they can be sent money from many different men and keep working, they gain face doing that, and they gain respect that they're able to manipulate a Westerner into doing that. But then you think about it from the Westerner's point of view. What's he gaining? Well, he's losing money, he's losing resources, but his heart has been hooked by this woman or by this ladyboy, and in his mind, he's thinking to himself, that he's got this great love affair going on, whereas for her, it's all just business. And it's like, I think it was in the book Private Dancer, where it said, if a Thai bar girl's lips are moving, then she's lying. And I think that's very good advice. I mean, I've been over there, and I've...
Not just bar girls, any girls, I think, there.
Yeah.
You can substitute that with.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been over there, and I've been with friends, other Westerners, and there's been times when I know that I'm being lied to by my ladyboy bar girl. I just let it go. I don't let her know that I know she's lying, but I know she's lying. And other Westerners I've been with couldn't pick up on it. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I know that she's lying to me, but these other people haven't actually picked it. it's not that they haven't said anything to me, they honestly didn't see it, right? Like, you know, you can tell by people's body language if, you know, if they give you a certain look or whatever, you can think, all right, well, something's going on, they can see through this. But sometimes they don't, and they can't. Whereas I picked up so many white lies and lies from the bar girls there that I've been close to. I know it's just a game for them. It's a game of how much money, how much resources they can get out of us Western men. We're the business for these people. And if we're not fucking around with the working class ties, let's say we go up a level. Let's say we go to the middle class ties, and the middle class office girls who have gotten, you know, so-called respectable jobs, but they might be earning less than what a bar girl earns. They're also interested in our money and our resources. And it's all going to come back down to that. And it's as my celebrity friend says, he said, Jarod, every interaction you have over here has the seed of an economic transaction. I thought that was brilliant. He knows. He's been there too long. He sees right through it. And, you know, he's tried to school me in the reality of the place. He could see that at one point in time, the bright lights of Pattaya, I was taken by them, and that he could see that I was still acting rationally. I was doing a couple of things here and there. That he thought, oh, you know, I don't know about this guy, but he could see that I could see, you know, I could see through it, and I had the potential to see through it to the level that he saw through it. But some guys, they just can't. And he's got a word to describe this. When a Western man goes over there and falls in love with a bar girl and is in that environment, and you just can't talk sense to him. He will not listen to reason. There's nothing that you can say to him to break him out of that mode. And I think he called it fuckability or something, or mind fuckability or something like that. And I honestly believe that mode of operation for men exists over there, because I've seen it in other men, and I've certainly experienced it in myself. But to me, there's always that little voice at the back of my head that's telling me, okay, Jarod, this is a game. This person's playing you. This is the angle that they're taking. And you know, the Thais, they can just be so good at it because they do it with a smile, right?
Yeah, I think this comes back to what you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation with the, you know, Thai girls getting the men to fall in love with them. That is the purpose of that, so that the men act irrationally.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And it's that, see, us men, we're logical. We think things out. We're long-range thinkers. We've invented the world, right? All the great technology, all the art, science, engineering. The world was built by men. The one thing that women have gotten over us is their sexuality. And once we get into that mode where we're taken with a woman's sexuality, we lose our logical mind. We just put it to one side, and we're in another state of mind, and we do all sorts of crazy things. And that's the dangers of places like Pattaya. There's a website that documents Farang deaths in Thailand. And if you have a look at the website and you do a search, most of the deaths are in Pattaya. And I think it's about 90% Western men are the death statistics over there. It's not Western women, no, Western men who go over there and get themselves into these sorts of situations. So the Pattaya Flying Club, people have said to me, well, they think that I could end up that way, but I like to think that I'm a bit too rational for that, and that I can see. My friend Steve, he said to me, Jarod, you've got to be able to see situations as they're occurring, not afterwards. So whilst the situation's playing out, if you can identify what's happening in the moment, then you're going to have a real edge over other people in those types of environments. And I think that's excellent advice. If you can understand the game and to see what game people are playing on you in those environments as it's happening to you, you're the one who gains control out of that. And you can help others to see it as well.
Yeah, okay. But a lot of whether people can see it or not Yeah, it really depends. And as you said, with some people, you can't help them.
No,
Really.
no.
Some people with their Thai girlfriends.
And what will happen is later on, they will come to you in pain. And that's what men do. Like if you think back to normal relationships and friends that you've had from the past or friends that you've currently got, then men they'll wait until they're in a really bad position and they're just really down on their luck and nothing's worked out and things are just very, very bad. Then they'll come to you in pain and then they'll finally admit, yep, you were right, or yep, I should have taken your advice. And it's not until they've reached the depths of that sort of depression that they can see things for what they are. And I think that's characteristic of us men, because we're taught that we need to be stoic and we need to, not show our emotions, and we need to be strong, and all the rest of the shit that we've been brought up to believe that men have to be and to act and to be a real man, so to speak. But it's all manipulation, essentially. It's all to get us to be good resource providers. As soon as we stop being resource providers, that's it. We've got no value. And that's our role as men. Our work, our resources, that's our wealth. Whereas for a woman, it's her youth and her beauty. Whereas, what's happened now in the Western world, they're also working and earning good incomes. But at the end of the day, as a woman gets older, no matter how rich she is, she's never going to get the love of a powerful, a very powerful man. That love that man will reserve for a younger, more attractive woman. So, yeah, if you look at the rich list or the most powerful women in business in the United States, have a good look through that list and ask yourself how many of those women that you'd like to have sex with. And I'm sure the answer will be very, very few. Whereas you take a woman who's working in a cafe, a young and cute woman, any day over any of those powerful women.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. I mean, this is, part of our MGTOW theory, isn't it, of course, that we're after, we being men, are after youth and beauty.
Yep.
And a woman's reason for being, of course, is usually to manipulate men for resources.
Yep, absolutely. And no amount of changing society or any of this women are equal sort of stuff, it's not going to change the biological imperative. And women and men, their self-interest is different to one another. Now, the married man, his self-interest is, what's the married man doing? If you think about what he's doing, he's committing to a fool's errand. He's getting himself into a long-term situation where a woman is going to lose her youth and her beauty. So the very thing that attracted him to the woman in the first place, her youth and her beauty, that they're going to go over time. But she is going to gain his wealth and his resources, and they're going to find themselves in a position where the man is bored. He wants to have sex with younger, more attractive women, and if he strays, then bang, he gets divorced. Whereas if he stays in the situation, then he's depressed and miserable and upset. I've got friends who are divorced and they've been in situations like that for years, like literally years, and they've gotten out of it, and they've had to pay a lot of money, but they've said it's been worth it. And even though the divorce was so expensive, it was worth it just to get out and not be miserable and to have their freedom back and to be able to do what they want without being under the control of a woman, and to listen to her nagging and complaining and her constant list of things that she wants him to do or to be or to out earn or to, it just goes on and on. There's no peace of mind for a man in that sort of situation. Whereas Thailand, it offers us that freedom, right? We can constantly be with younger, beautiful women, and we can maintain our freedom, and we're not under the control of some bitch who's giving us orders.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. A lot of people seem to be doing the same thing when they get over to Thailand. A lot of men, when they get over to Thailand, the first thing they want to do, having got divorced or whatever it is in the West, first thing they want to do is partner up again.
Yeah, I know.
When they get to Thailand, and they end up with a different version of the same thing.
Exactly.
You don't have the thought in Thailand that's going to come after you.
Yeah.
But some of the women may be connected with violent men. The women themselves may be violent, or they may use other techniques to try to, extract money from you, as we all know.
Yep. Yeah, look, I agree with you. And men do find themselves in those situations over there. But I think there's a certain level of insight and understanding that comes to certain men, especially MGTOW men who have gotten experience. And that foreigner that I caught up with on my last trip, he was fascinating because here he just turned 60 something, and he was really smart, very insightful. He was waiting for his pension. He was like a long-term government worker, so he was going to get a very good defined benefit pension. But he maintains his freedom. He says to me that he refuses to shack up with any one of these women. And in fact, before we met, he was like, "Oh, Jarod, I can't meet you at this place or at that place because there's problems going there." And I said, "Oh, why is that?" He's like, "Oh, there's certain bar girls that if I walk into that establishment, there will be problems. It'll cause a fight, so I'm avoiding those places." And it just turns out that he's had so many different bar girls that some of them have they've tried to get him into bad situations against his self-interest. They've tried to get him to provide resources or to get engaged or to go and live with them and all the rest of this sort of stuff. And he's steadfastly refused. He's gotten his head out of the noose so many times. But he really sees the need to keep his freedom over there. And literally, as I left the restaurant, I said, "Oh, what are you going to do tonight?" He goes, "Oh, I'm going to have a marathon sex session with a longer term bar girl that he knows, a freelancer." And he put my activities to shame. He was having many hour-long sex marathons, and here I was just having one session that lasted maybe an hour or so with bar girls. This guy was just extreme, but he did have that need to keep his freedom.
Yeah, I think people like that are few and far between. I think you'll find most Westerners, when they get to Thailand, partner up from what I've experienced.
Yeah. But the problem is that there's no security for us over there. If you can figure out a way to have long-term security for us foreigners in Thailand, I am all ears, because I've looked and I can't see it. I can only see risky ways to obtain it. I can see problematic ways. I can see, trying to game things over there, and I just see it as problematic. And
when you say security, what do you mean?
Okay, so in the Western world, right, like where I am, I live in Australia. I can go and buy a house on land in my own name, 100% in my own name, and I can own a business 100% in my own name. Whereas in Thailand, I can't own land. I can only own a condo. A condo is a depreciating asset. I can only own part of the building, not the land. If I want to start a business, it has to be 51% owned by a Thai. That means I don't have control of that business. Then I'm under Thai law. And the Thai law, the way that things are, I don't see that providing a whole lot of security for us foreigners. If I'm out on the street and an accident occurs, well, it's about how much money they can get out of me, the foreigner. For after all, the accident wouldn't have occurred if I wasn't in the country, right? And just examples of that sort of stuff, I can just see all the problems there. Whereas I don't have those problems over here in Australia. So I like to think like a banker, and I put up a video about this. And if a person wants to buy a house, you go to the bank, and the bank will take the house as security for the loan. They'll loan you the money, but if you don't pay it back, they get to take the house and sell it and get their money back. Well, you don't have that security over in Thailand. None of us foreigners do. And if the relationship goes sour, bang, you're the one who loses. Inevitably, the Thais who are attracted to you in Thailand are the Thais who have got less money, less resources overall than what you've got. For after all, why else are they with you? When you're in Thailand, how many high society Thais have you been with? How many of the upper echelons of society who have gotten money, fame, power, resources? How many of those people do you interact with? Very few, I would say. I've never interacted with any of them from that upper echelon of society. In fact, the only Thais who I do get to interact with are the working or the middle class Thais. And they're looking up to me. They're not looking up and over, they're looking up to me. And so that's the thing, it's all about the resources and the money at the end of the day.
Okay, so you mentioned, I've got 3 things there that you mentioned there with your security. First of all, property. I would say, why do you need to own property in Thailand?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, the way I look at it, I would rent long-term in Thailand. I don't want to own anything. It's because I can't own land. If I can't own land, then I can't gain the benefits of long-term land ownership, which is appreciation, so to speak. But the problem comes is, imagine I shack up with a Thai, right? If it's a woman's driving goal is security, much more than a man. A man's driving goal tends to be freedom. But if I shack up with a woman, she's almost certainly going to want me to buy a house, so that she's got that security. But then if I'm living with the woman and the house is in her name, then I put in a whole heap of money and I've lost security for myself. Well, she's gained it, right?
Yes. So you do not need the property then in this case. You do not need property. It's if you live with a partner, which I think you know my recommendation on that one. If you live with a partner, it would be the partner that wants the property, not you.
Yeah, that's right. I can't see a way to win in the property market over there unless we become Thai citizens, and that's fraught with problems and a long drawn-out process. And there's people I know who have told me secondhand that there's people they've known and they've been trying it for years and they're still trying, and they haven't managed to obtain it. But I mean, look, as a foreigner, you don't really need to. And I've been thinking about this a bit more recently to revisit this topic about owning property in Thailand. I think the way I want to do it, I keep all my assets here. I keep my retirement scheme, my index fund, my individual stocks, and I live over in Thailand off the dividends from the stocks and the income from the index fund and the income from my retirement scheme, and I just rent in Thailand. And that's what I will be doing long term over there. But yeah, as I said, the problem is if I get myself into an entanglement long term with the Thai, that's when the problems could start occurring. And if I use the word no too much, if I was with a woman, for instance, and I kept saying, well, no, I'm not buying a house on land. No, I'm not doing that. Then it's not going to last very long, is it?
Yeah, but why do you want to be permanently with a woman who only wants your stuff? I don't see the point in that one.
Neither do I.
A lot of people want to do it, but I would say it's not necessary.
Yeah. Have you ever lived with a woman long term?
No, never.
I've done it twice, and I wouldn't do it again to the degree that I did it before. Because what happened is, over time, so the first relationship I was with a feminist, and I was living with a friend of mine, a male friend of mine, and she moved in. So she was living in my room in the house. So there was the 3 of us there. She was constantly on to me to get rid of him, get him out of the house, that or that we needed to. It didn't feel like her house. She wanted us to go and buy a house together. But I could see that it was a fool's errand. If I had bought a place with her, I could just see that long term it wasn't going to work out. So I refused. And part of the reason she broke up with me, or sorry, that I broke up with her, but the reason we had so many problems was that I just refused to do all the things that she wanted that were going to bring her security at my expense.
Yeah. I don't see the advantage of putting yourself in that situation. So obviously the way to avoid that is not to be in a long-term relationship. It seems to me, like I said, I don't see any advantage in it at all.
Yeah, neither do I. See, but I was young and dumb at the time. I was 22 years old, and then I repeated the same mistake when I was 25. I don't need a third lesson. You know what I mean? Like I just don't want to do it again.
I'll tell you what, Jarod, while we're talking about that and property and so on, you know, if you have a property, one thing that I have, I wouldn't say noticed because I've not lived with a woman, but deducted is that a lot of women, when they partner up with somebody, they would see their property as belonging to the woman.
That's right.
This happened to a friend of mine who was in the Philippines, and in that case, he bought the house in the woman's name, and he went to live in the Philippines, and unfortunately, the lady died. So he then assumed that since the lady died, that house now reverts to his ownership. Well, it might have done legally, but in practice, you know, the family didn't see it that way. And he squatted in the house effectively, you know, refused because he was saying it was his house, he's not going anywhere. And they had him killed.
Yeah, you see, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And there's many stories about this sort of stuff in Thailand as well. And where foreigners, there was one story about a foreigner who was in Isan and, he was living in the shed. No, what happened? They had a house. He had a house with this Thai woman, and she lost the house to gambling, something like that. And she had another boyfriend on the side. And anyway, he said, right, get out of the house. I want you out of here. And she ended up living in the shed or something like that. And friends of his said, look, this is not going to end up well. You're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. And what ended up happening was he was killed. He was killed. And none of this sort of stuff surprised me anymore, what goes on over in these places, because it all seems to come back down to the money. And one of the other things I read was that in the village in Isan, even the police chief was in on some of this stuff. And there were rumours going around about who was next to be killed, or who was next to have money come to them because of problems in the relationship. And look, the solution to all of this is to keep control of your money and your resources, keep your assets in the Western world, have the income flow through to you over in Thailand, because as far as I'm concerned, the entire country is a casino. It may as well be a casino for us Western men. No matter which way I look at it, I don't see any other rational way to look at the place, because there's too many ways for us to get ourselves into all sorts of trouble. I mean, I myself, I've gotten myself into situations that I couldn't believe over there. You know, problems with people. And I didn't even set out to cause problems, but you just don't know. And, when it comes to the Thais, many of them, I just don't trust them. I don't. There's very few Thais that I would trust. In fact, I can't think of one that I would say, yep, I trust that person. Not one.
Okay, so I would guess the problems you've had, were they with partners or people connected to your sexual partners?
Yes, I've had problems with Thais. I've had some problems with Westerners here and there over the years. Ultimately, it's come down to money or to resources, or me causing them to lose face for whatever reason, and me doing things which they didn't understand, and I've caused them to lose face, and that's become a problem. But, you know, certain situations where I know that some, you know, a leader of one group of women or lady boys is a particularly bad influence who maybe carries a knife or carries a taser or something like that, and I've caused someone to lose face, and then they've got issues with me then, so then I can't go back to a certain place. You know, just problems like that, but it all just boils down to money and resources at the end of the day. Yeah, so when you're looking at if there's a landmine and you're trying to cross a piece of land that's just got landmines everywhere, you need to be really careful where you tread. And that's the way I see Thailand in many ways. And all the Westerners who have come before us, you read their stories on Stickman, you read stories on the internet here and there. How many really positive stories do you hear about? Is it the fact that we just don't hear about positive stories, that there are a lot of people who are happy and living in Thailand, and it's only negative stories that get attention and get press? Is that the reality why we hear more negative stories than positive stories, or is something else at play? And I think that it's the reality of that place. It's a marketplace, right? And the rules of the marketplace, you know, we've got a market over here in the West and a market over there. And, you know, we have to abide by the rules of that marketplace. And, you know, we've got a relative advantage in that we're bringing more resources to the table, but that makes us a target. More of a target than what would be in the Western world, because as average guys in the West, we're looked over instead of looked up to. We're not constantly having to guard ourselves over here because most people just don't care about us in the Western world. We're too small a fish to fry unless we've got big money. So this is what people with bigger money would probably experience here in the Western world. We just experience it on a smaller scale in Thailand.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. You mentioned that, is it that the negative stories attract more attention than the positive ones? And I would say, I think, to some extent it is. I mean, I've been going to Thailand now for about 15 years, 3-4 times a year, and you know, I haven't got into any trouble at all. The key to it, in my case, is not having long-term relationships. Never had a long-term relationship for as long as I've been going to Thailand.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key. Also have another friend he's married, so he has obviously some issues with his wife and family and so on. But his life is much better than it would have been if he was in the UK. So again, that would be another positive outcome, we can say. He's been in Thailand for about 7 years.
Yeah.
Reasonably happily married, I would say.
Yeah, but does he have security?
As in,
is the house in his woman's name?
yes.
Yeah, so
In the woman's name.
yeah, so every day he lives within security. Now, I can't live like that. The more I think about it, and I've read a quote somewhere, and someone said it to me as well when I told them what I was doing in Thailand. He said I was very lucky, and I said, well, why is that? He said, well, it's because you come over here, you holiday over here, you have a great time, and then you go home. And you go home and you earn more money, and you can afford to live a great life in Thailand part-time, and you get the best of both worlds by continuing to do what you're doing. It's when we try to do something longer term that we start to have problems, I think, in that environment. And that's why I wanted to get out to Isan on this next trip and interview some guys out there and start asking them questions about their living arrangements and what they're doing. And I put out a call on Stickman that I was forming a production company and I want to get out and meet people. And I had a couple of replies here and there, but nobody that I thought that I really wanted to meet. But I'm particularly interested in the subject of long-term successful situations between foreigners and Thai women or Thai ladyboys who are living comfortable, nice lives out in Isan, right? Or even in Bangkok, that, you know, and they're still together after a number of years, because they must be doing something right when the odds are really against them. Being a cross-cultural situation, two people from completely different cultures and upbringings and environments, you know, it's a high-risk activity, right? Engaging in a cross-cultural relationship. And anyone who's managed to do it for a long period of time, they should be studied and asked, well, why are you succeeding? What do you see as the things you're doing right, compared to other foreigners who overwhelmingly fuck up, according to what you read about. You know, we could learn things from people like that, I think.
Yeah, well, the ones that fuck up, what normally happens is that they take their assets to Thailand. This is what normally happens if there is, you know, one way to describe it.
Yep.
Probably the ones that are successful probably still have resources in wherever it is that they have come from, that is coming into Thailand, that is paying for their life in Thailand.
And that's the key.
That, if there was a Westerner who didn't have any resources coming into Thailand, he would be ejected by his partner.
That's the key to success, the way I see it, to keep control of your assets. Any other way, I see a problem with. And I also, one of the tenets I see as success is living like the Thais would do. So there's no way that I would move up country and buy a big fuck off house that's like a mansion in the village. There's no way I would do that. If I'm going to live with a Thai woman in the village, I would buy and I'm going to, if I was to buy land in her name, it'd be a simple house on a simple plot of land, nothing extravagant, nothing crazy. And we would live a relatively simple life. We'd have a few luxuries here and there, but there's no way I'm doing any of that mansion shit.
You can't buy a house, don't forget about that one.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, buy it in her name. But you know, it would have to represent a very small percentage of my net worth. So if I was worth, let's say I was worth $2 million, right? If I was worth that, and I was buying a house, looking at buying a house in Thailand, I wouldn't go and spend $500,000 building a mansion in Isan. It's craziness. You know, I would build something. What's that?
That reminds me, Jarod, since you're thinking about it and talking about it, what my friend has done, which maybe you could consider if you're going to live long term with somebody, is to get a mortgage for the house and then pay the mortgage rather than actually pay cash for the house.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another excellent point, because that way you're providing an ongoing benefit to the woman that's taking time. And remember, when a woman says "I love you," replace the word love for need, and you're right 100% of the time. If you're needed to pay for that mortgage constantly, then she's got reason to keep you around. It's not until everything's paid off, then bang, she can get rid of you then. But look, I just see all that as a fool's errand. No matter which way it goes when it comes to monogamy, whether we're talking in the Western world or in Thailand, the reality is, as time goes on, her looks are going to fade, I'm going to get bored, there's going to come a crunch time, and I will either cheat or I'll stay living in misery. And I see that look of misery in so many men's eyes, and I just don't want to live like that. I want my freedom. I don't want to commit. Maybe as I get older, this will change, but I don't know. Maybe it's...
It doesn't change, Jarod. I can tell you that. I think I'm a bit older than you. It doesn't change.
But this is the thing, you know, there's so many...
You're still young and attractive women.
There's so many lies that we're brought up on here in the Western world, and as soon as you stop living those lies and concentrate on doing what's in your best self-interest, then that's a problem for other people. Well, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to continue to do what's in my own self-interest, and that's the way the key that I see to living a life on my terms, doing things that I want to do independently of, being a resource to other, or, to other people. What about me? What about my self-interest and what's good for me? Us men, we're cheap, expendable labour at the end of the day when it comes to society. And, I think I want to value myself higher than that. And yeah, I'll still help people. I'll still provide, continue working in technology and help the world through my work. But anything else I'm going to be very careful with. I mean, look, tonight's a great example. After we finish this call, I'm getting in my car. I'm going to see a ladyboy who I found on backpage.com, and I've been watching for a while. She's on my Facebook, and I know she does porn. She's starring in various porn movies, and we're going to have a great time. I'm going to go there. I'm going to pay her, and then I'm going to leave afterwards. It's more expensive than it would be if I was catching up with her in Thailand, but I don't want to go to clubs or any of the rest of that shit now. It's a waste of time and effort. So yeah, I want my time. I want to continue doing what I'm doing, and I want my freedom.
Yeah, I think that's what we all want, isn't it? Really?
Mm.
Yeah, freedom to be able to do what we all would like.
Definitely. Well, look, it was nice chatting with you today. I've got to get going because it's not that far, but it's I've got to get ready and make this journey across town. So there might be a bit of traffic. So, but it was really nice speaking to you again tonight, mate. And we'll do another one of these calls again in the future.
Yeah.